Mr. Harold Macmillan becomes Prime Minister of Great Britain after Sir Anthony Eden's surprise resignation. A surprise even to his cabinet colleagues. The Foreign Minister Selwyn Lloyd leaves Downing Street after a dramatic 10-minute meeting. Behind him is Housing Minister Duncan Sandys. They have just learned from Sir Anthony of the doctor's verdict, which has left him no alternative but to go to Buckingham Palace and lay his resignation before the Queen. By now, the Downing Street crowds realise that something momentous is afoot. On his way to number 11, Chancellor Macmillan and his wife and daughter are surrounded by photographers, for already he is named as a possible successor. Next morning, the comings and goings at the palace are watched with mounting excitement. Who is being called for advice and who to be offered leadership? Sir Winston Churchill arrives. Is his counsel being sought, or perhaps even his return for a few months? Most people expect the mantle to fall on Mr. Rab Butler, Lord Privy Seal and Leader of the Commons. Everyone has his own opinion, and some their private or public prayers. The final choice of Mr. Harold Macmillan, who arrives perhaps symbolically riding in the front seat, comes as a surprise to many, till they think over his record. As Housing Minister, when in less than 2 years he carried out the government's election pledge of building 300,000 houses. His brief but effective term at the Defence Ministry. As Foreign Secretary, particularly his big three talks with America's Foster Dulles and France's Antoine Pinay. Finally as Chancellor and author of the Premium Bond Scheme. And now a word from the man in the street.
Tell me, sir, what's your opinion about Sir Anthony Eden?
Well, on the Suez Crisis, I believe he was absolutely right, and it's only unfortunate that the other statesmen of the world who could have used their influence did not support him.
I see.
I believe that in due course, and it is being shown now, that his policy was right, and the other countries have now had to step in and use their influence in the Middle East because of the obvious intrigue that must be going on there.
How do you feel about Sir Anthony's resignation?
Well, seeing the ill health that he is suffering at the present time, I think it was the only possible thing that he could do.
I see. Have you got any opinions about the next Prime Minister?
Well, I think that it should be Butler.
How do you feel about Sir Anthony's resignation?
Well, when I heard it last night in our club, I was greatly shocked. And I think it's the passion of a good man. And I'm very sorry to think that the people that should have maintained him have let him down.
After an hour's audience with the Queen, the new Prime Minister leaves to begin his task of forming a new government. For a Premier's resignation means the resignation of all his ministers, leaving his successor to choose his own team. Mr. Macmillan's first problem? To find someone to follow himself at the Exchequer, with the budget only 12 weeks away. News travels fast, and the press are waiting for the new Premier outside the door of number 11 Downing Street, his residence as Chancellor. His first words? There will be no general election, and when there is, we shall win it. His family watch from above as Mr. Macmillan deals with the journalists. He enters number 11, a house he must now leave for the shortest but most significant move of his whole career. But first, he gives this message to our camera and to the world.
This afternoon, the Queen did me the great honour to ask me to form a government. I have accepted this duty. The occasion is a sad one for me, brought about as it is by the retirement of my old and very dear friend, Anthony Eden. I am now engaged in forming a government. I hope to present the list for Her Majesty's approval in a few days' time. We have a difficult task before us in this country, all of us, and it will need our courage and our strength. And we shall need the sympathy and the goodwill and understanding of everyone in the country, whatever their party or beliefs. I believe we shall have that sympathy, and I'm certain that with the efforts of all, we can succeed.